Some people seem most alive right before their final chapter begins. It's a truth I didn't understand until I watched someone I love slowly fade, not in one sudden moment, but through small, almost imperceptible shifts. A quieter voice, a skipped lunch, a pause before remembering my name. At first, I told myself it was just aging, but deep down, I knew something was changing. Most of us imagine death comes quickly, but in truth, the body often gives us soft whispers a year, even months before. Sadly, these signs are often mistaken for just getting older, and we miss the chance to prepare, to say things we've left unsaid, to love a little more clearly. That's why today's video matters. I want to help you see what I didn't, the gentle signs that someone may be nearing their final year, and what you can do to walk beside them with peace and grace. If you've ever seen changes like these in someone close to you, please comment 1. If not yet, comment 0. I read every word you share. If this message touches something inside you, please subscribe and turn on the bell so we don't lose each other in the noise. Because what we're about to explore may change how you love forever. Number 1, the disappearing plate. When food loses its meaning, it wasn't that she didn't eat. It's that eating no longer felt worth the effort. I remember my aunt used to love cooking. Her kitchen always smelled like something warm: cinnamon in winter, basil in summer. Her meals were stories. They brought people together. And yet, one day, the plate in front of her just sat there, barely touched. At first, we thought she was tired. Maybe her taste has changed. We said, maybe she's just bored with food. But then we noticed it wasn't just her appetite that was fading. It was her energy. Her weight dropped. Her voice grew softer. Something deeper was happening. When an elderly person begins to eat less or lose weight without trying, it's easy to blame aging. But very often, this change is not just physical, it's emotional, even spiritual. The act of eating, which once brought joy or purpose, may now feel like a chore. The flavors don't spark delight. The hunger no longer calls. This is one of the first signs the body may be preparing to slow down. Digestion becomes more difficult. Nutrients aren't absorbed as efficiently. Muscles begin to waste away. It's not just that they're eating less, it's that their body no longer asks for more. Some families try everything: favorite dishes, milkshakes, meal replacements. And while these efforts come from love, they may not change the outcome, because at some point, the body is no longer trying to rebuild. It's starting to release, and perhaps so is the soul. Instead of insisting on full meals, we can offer comfort: small bites, easy to digest foods, warm drinks shared in silence. What matters is not the number of calories, but the feeling of care. When someone no longer finishes their plate, it's not always about food. It may be the beginning of farewell quiet, gradual, but real. Number 2, when even sitting feels like climbing a mountain. Fatigue in the final chapter isn't about being tired, it's the body beginning to say goodbye. As we age, it's natural for our energy levels to change. But there comes a point where fatigue takes on a different weight, one that rest alone can no longer lift. This kind of fatigue is deep. It doesn't come from lack of sleep or overexertion. Instead, it stems from the body gradually withdrawing from activity, preserving its remaining strength for vital functions. Movements once performed without a second thought: standing, dressing, walking across the room, now demand full concentration and effort. The body, in its quiet wisdom, begins to reprioritize. Energy is no longer used for doing, but for simply being. Systems slow down, the heart beats more gently, muscles lose tone, and circulation no longer reaches the far edges of the body with ease. What once was a lively rhythm becomes a softer pulse, more deliberate, more limited. For many older adults, this shift can be emotionally painful. There is a strong connection between independence and identity. When physical strength wanes, so does the ability to engage with life as before, and that can lead to frustration, sadness, even a quiet sense of loss. But this stage is not about giving up. It's about honoring what the body's asking for less doing. more stillness. It's a season of slowing down, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. What matters most now is comfort, patience, and presence. Instead of encouraging action, this is a time to simply be near, to offer gentle support, not just with our hands, but with our hearts. Number 3, the mind's gentle retreat. It's not just memory that fades, it's the feeling of being fully here. One of the most tender and difficult signs that someone may be nearing the final year of life is not physical, but mental. It often begins so quietly that it's easy to dismiss a moment of forgetfulness, a name lost in conversation, a repeated question asked with innocent eyes. But over time, these small lapses grow into something more, not just forgetfulness, but a subtle retreat of the mind itself. This isn't about dementia or disease in every case. Sometimes it's simply the brain's way of stepping back. It's like watching a light dim gradually, not because it's broken, but because the day is ending. You may notice your loved one withdrawing from conversations, showing less interest in familiar hobbies, or spending more time in silence. They may look out the window without really seeing, or sit quietly in a room where once they would have laughed, talked, or shared stories. This mental shift is not a rejection of life or of those around them. Rather, it's a turning inward, a process of detaching gently from the world, perhaps in preparation for something beyond it. Emotionally, this can be incredibly hard for those who love them. It's painful to feel someone slipping away mentally while they're still physically present. You want to bring them back, to re-engage, to shake the fog away. But the mind doesn't respond to force. It needs tenderness. In this stage, the most healing thing you can offer is not correction, it's companionship. Not clarity, but calm. Sit with them in the quiet. Answer the same question with patience. Remind them they are safe, even when the world around them feels confusing. And above all, remember behind the cloudy thoughts and forgotten moments is still the same heart, still the same spirit, just moving more gently now. Number 4, frequent infections and slow healing. What once healed in days now lingers for weeks, not because the wound changed, but because the body has, as the human body enters its later chapters, its once reliable systems begin to slow. Among the most noticeable yet often misunderstood signs of this shift is the body's growing vulnerability to infection and its decreasing ability to heal. Cuts that once closed in days remain tender. Bruises bloom and stay longer. Colds turn into lingering coughs. A simple urinary infection leads to confusion, weakness, even hospitalization. It's easy to feel alarmed or even helpless watching these changes, but these aren't isolated events. They are part of a quiet transformation happening deep within the immune system. Once a robust shield, now responds more slowly, more gently, and with less strength. For older adults in their final year of life, this lowered resistance isn't simply about catching more illnesses. It's about how those illnesses affect the whole person. A minor infection can sap energy, cloud the mind, and create a domino effect of decline. Healing becomes less certain and complications more likely. Caregivers often ask, should we fight harder? Add more medicine, try stronger treatment. And while these questions come from love, they sometimes miss what the body's asking for. There comes a moment when the focus shifts from fixing to comforting, from curing illness to easing discomfort. It doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing peace over battle, presence over panic, warm compresses, hydration, clean sheets, and a soothing voice may now offer more than any prescription. The healing we seek isn't always physical. Sometimes it's emotional, even spiritual, a sense of being safe, held, and not alone. Number 5, major changes in breathing and circulation. Breath becomes a whisper, warmth begins to retreat. The body speaks, even when words are gone. Of all the signs that the end of life may be drawing near, few are as profound or as unsettling as the quiet changes in breathing and circulation. These changes don't come suddenly. They arrive like dusk, slowly dimming the body's rhythm in ways both subtle and sacred. Breathing begins to shift. It may become shallow, irregular, or punctuated by long pauses. Some breaths are quick and shallow, while others stretch out and slow down as if the body itself is trying to remember how to rest. Circulation also changes. Blood, once flowing freely to the extremities, is now redirected to vital organs. Hands and feet may grow cool to the touch. Skin might turn pale, bluish, or mottled, especially around the fingers, toes, and lips. These are not signs of pain, but of conservation, the body focusing its limited energy on the heart, lungs, and brain. To the caregiver, these changes can be frightening. We're wired to react, to warm their hands, to wake them up, to call for help. But often, what we're witnessing is not a crisis. It's closing. The body is transitioning, not failing. There is no need to fix what is happening. Instead, we can create calm, soften the lighting, adjust the pillows, cool the room, and play gentle music. Offer water in small sips. Speak softly. Hold their hand. Be with them at this moment, fully. Breathing, once automatic and unnoticed, now becomes a sacred act. Each breath, a gentle reminder that life, even at its quietest, is still worthy of love and reverence. As the body begins to speak its final language through breath and stillness, a new question arises, not about what we can do for them, but about how we can love them through it. Because in the end, it's not medical care alone that matters most. It's the quiet, unwavering presence of the heart. Number 6, how to love someone through their final year. You don't need to fix anything. You just need to stay. When someone you love is entering the final stretch of life, your instinct may be to act, to solve, to rescue, to reverse what's happening. But in truth, the most powerful form of love in this stage is presence, not advice, not doing more, just being there fully, quietly, without rushing the moment. The final year of life is often marked by uncertainty. One day they may be alert and smiling, the next quiet and withdrawn. It's easy to feel helpless, unsure of what to say or how to help. But the truth is, you don't need the perfect words. You don't need grand gestures. You only need to bring yourself slowly, gently, with love. This kind of love looks different. It may mean sitting in silence, not trying to cheer them up or change how they feel. It may mean listening to the same story again and again, because they need to tell it. It may mean offering a hand to hold, a warm blanket, or just your quiet breath beside theirs. And most of all, it means allowing them to feel without judgment, to feel afraid, to feel tired, to feel ready, and to feel safe while doing so. The role of the caregiver, or the loved one, isn't to carry them across the finish line. It's to walk beside them, at their pace, with your hand open and your heart soft. Let go of fixing, let go of rushing, let go of trying to make it better. Love them right here, right now, exactly as they are. Because when the time comes to say goodbye, it won't be the meals you cooked or the advice you gave that will matter most. It will be the way they felt when you sat beside them with nothing to prove and everything to give. Number 7, preparing ourselves while they let go. Their body may be slowing down, but your heart is just beginning to feel everything. There's a moment in every journey of caregiving when the deepest pain begins to surface, not because something has gone wrong, but because reality is starting to settle and someone we love is leaving. And though they may be slowly letting go, we are just starting to hold on tighter. That tension between holding on and letting go is one of the most sacred and most painful parts of love. We prepare medications, meals, and blankets. But do we prepare our hearts? Do we prepare for the silence that follows the laughter, for the emptiness that follows the final breath? Preparing ourselves emotionally and spiritually is not about being strong or having all the answers. It's about allowing ourselves to feel without rushing, without numbing. It means crying in the kitchen at night, even if no one sees. It means writing letters you may never send. It means saying, "I forgive you," even if they're already asleep. And most of all, it means whispering thank you, not just for what they did in life, but for what they've shown you in dying. This is the time to be gentle with yourself. Grief doesn't begin after someone is gone. It begins in the little goodbyes along the way, the first time they forget your name, the last time they walk unaided, the moment they sleep through a conversation. You are allowed to grieve now, to reflect, to release, to love harder, even as you prepare to say goodbye. You don't need to have a perfect farewell. You only need an honest one. And that begins by acknowledging the ache and giving yourself permission to feel it. Number 8, a goodbye with no regrets. We may not get more time, but we can choose what we do with the time we have. The final moments with someone you love don't always come with warning. There's no perfect script, no exact moment when you'll know this is the last time they'll open their eyes, the last time they'll say your name, the last time your hands will meet. But what we do with the days or even the hours leading up to that moment is what shapes the story we'll carry forever. A goodbye without regret doesn't mean everything was said. It doesn't require dramatic declarations or perfectly choreographed moments. Sometimes it's as simple as presence, a quiet room, a hand being held, a whispered, "I'm here." The greatest regrets often come not from what we didn't say, but from the moments we weren't present, for the times we chose distraction over connection, or silence over a simple "I love you." But here's the truth: as long as they are still here, it's not too late. Not too late to sit beside them. Not too late to share one last story, one last smile, one last thank you. Not too late to forgive, to bless, or simply to be still together. A meaningful goodbye is built on intention, not perfection. It comes from showing up even clumsily, even tearfully, and letting your love fill the space between you. So if you are in this moment now, or approaching it, ask yourself gently, what would make this goodbye feel whole? Not flawless, but honest. Even a single moment of connection can echo for a lifetime. Saying goodbye is never really just one moment. It lingers in the air, in the silence of the room, in the way you instinctively reach for someone who's no longer there. For a while, and everything feels quieter and heavier. You may go about your days, but something deep within you moves slower now. And in those quiet hours, a new kind of question begins to emerge. What happens next? How do we keep living when someone we love no longer does? That's what this next part is for. Not to forget them, not to move on, but to explore how we move forward gently, honestly with them, still in our hearts. Because life doesn't end with goodbye. In some quiet, sacred way, it begins again. Number 1, the empty chair. What grief really feels like. Grief is not a straight road. It's a room you return to again and again. There's a chair in your living room that nobody sits in anymore. A cup that's still on the shelf, untouched. A voice you expect to hear when you wake up and then remember. It won't come. These are the quiet echoes of grief. We often imagine grief as something with stages: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance, as if we will graduate from each one and then be free. But in truth, grief doesn't follow a map. It's not a staircase. It's a wave, sometimes gentle, sometimes crushing, always unexpected. You may feel completely numb or cry without warning. You might laugh one moment at an old memory, then feel a pang of guilt the next. This is not being broken. This is being human. Grief is messy, sacred, and deeply personal. And one of the most painful truths is that it doesn't always make sense. You might miss them most in the grocery store, at a stoplight, or in the middle of folding laundry. Places where they never even stood, but where your memories now live. The world often tells us to move on, but that language is cruel. We don't move on. We move with. We carry the grief, and eventually it becomes part of our strength, not our burden. If you're in that place now with the empty chair, the quiet mornings, the unfamiliar nights, know this: you are not doing it wrong. You are just grieving. And grieving is not a weakness. It's love, turned inside out. Number 2, small rituals, big healing. You don't need a ceremony. You just need something to come back to. Grief can feel like floating in a sea with no shore in sight. Days blur. Time becomes unfamiliar. The person you lost was once your anchor, and now you drift. That's where rituals come in. Not grand ceremonies, not public speeches, but small, gentle habits that remind your heart, I'm still here. I'm still living. Maybe it's lighting a candle each morning at the kitchen window. Maybe it's making their favorite cup of tea and sitting in their old chair. Maybe it's playing the song they loved while folding laundry, or watering the plant they planted years ago. These acts seem simple, almost too small to matter, but they do, because ritual is repetition with meaning. It's how we honor without needing to explain. It's how we turn the ordinary into sacred ground. You don't need to get over anything to begin a ritual. In fact, rituals are not about getting over. They're about staying connected in a way that doesn't hurt. Grief has no timetable, but rituals give you rhythm. They create moments in the day that hold you when your strength runs low. They remind you that love doesn't disappear. It simply changes form. What once was a hug may now be a prayer. What once was conversation may now be silence lit by candlelight. If you feel overwhelmed by grief, start with one small act, something you do each day, not to fix the sadness, but to honor it. Let that act become a quiet bridge between you and the person you love. Number 3, the love didn't die with them. Just because they are gone doesn't mean love is. Death takes away a body, a voice, a presence in the room, but it cannot take away the love. Love doesn't end. It simply changes addresses. You may not be able to call them anymore, or feel their hug, or hear their laughter across the dinner table. But their love, it still lives in the way you care for others, in the way you soften when you see someone in need. In this way, their favorite song makes you pause, just for a moment. Sometimes, we believe that continuing to live to smile, to dance, to laugh means we're leaving them behind. But the truth is, living well is one of the deepest ways to carry them forward. You are their echo now, the way you choose kindness, the way you speak with patience, the way you remember not just in sadness, but in action. If they were here, what would they want for you? More tears, more guilt, or more walks outside, more sunrises, more quiet peace. Write them a letter, light a candle, and say what you never said. Carry their values into the world. That's how love endures. Because love doesn't die when a person does. It becomes something we live with, something we pass on, something that grows roots inside us and blossoms in how we treat the world. Number 4, who are you without them? Grief doesn't just take away the one you love. It asks you to meet yourself all over again. When someone you love passes, it's not only their absence you have to live with, it's the quiet identity crisis that follows. Especially if they were your partner, your sibling, your parent, your best friend, someone who made up part of you. Without them, some days feel hollow. Not just because they're gone, but because the version of you that existed beside them feels gone too. Who are you now, in the silence, when no one is there to finish your sentences, when there's no shared routine? No, only me. This is not just grief. This is redefinition, and it's okay to feel lost in it. You don't need to rebuild overnight. Start small. Maybe it's walking a different route in the morning. Maybe it's returning to a hobby you once loved but set aside. Maybe it's journaling each night, not about them, but about you, your breath, your hopes, your name. You're not leaving them behind when you start discovering yourself again. You're honoring the very thing they would have wanted for your life to keep unfolding. This chapter is not about forgetting. It's about remembering who you were before them and discovering who you might still become after. Grief removes, but it also reveals. So, take your time. There's no rush, but know this. Your story didn't end when theirs did. It just changed direction. Number 5, helping others while healing yourself. Sometimes the only way forward is to reach back and offer your hand. There's a quiet moment in grief when something shifts, when the pain you carry begins to feel less like a wound and more like a bridge. You begin to notice others, a neighbor who just lost her husband, A cousin who can't sleep after saying goodbye to his father, and suddenly the ache in your chest has a purpose not just to mourn, but to comfort. Helping others through grief isn't about being fully healed. You don't need to be over it. In fact, it's the honesty of your brokenness that often helps someone feel less alone. You can share your story. You can sit with someone who's crying and say nothing, just be there. You can bring a warm meal, write a letter, or simply say, I remember what this feels like. When we help others heal, we begin to stitch our own heart not by forgetting our pain, but by giving it meaning. This doesn't mean sacrificing your own grief. You can still have bad days. You can still feel overwhelmed. But in your sharing, something sacred happens. You become a companion on the road of sorrow. And that is holy work. Many people find deep healing in grief support groups, hospice volunteering, or simply mentoring someone who's just starting their journey. Your presence, raw, honest, and imperfect, can be more healing than any advice. Grief doesn't always want answers. Sometimes it just wants company. And if your experience, your tears, your nights of silence, your mornings of aching can become a light for someone else, then the love you lost has transformed into something eternal. Number 6, living fully with a tender heart. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering and still choosing to live. After loss, many people ask the same quiet question: is it okay to be happy again? Is it okay to smile, to plan, to feel joy when someone I love is gone? The answer is simple and profound. Yes, not only is it okay, it is necessary, because life doesn't end when grief begins. In fact, grief can deepen your capacity to live. Living fully after loss is not about moving on. It's about moving forward with a heart that remembers, not regrets. Your heart may always carry the weight of missing them, but it can also carry laughter, music, warm sunlight through the window, the thrill of trying something new, the softness of knowing just how fragile and precious every moment is. This kind of living isn't loud or fast. It's not about chasing happiness. It's about receiving life, moment by moment. It's walking slower, speaking softer, loving deeper, because you now know how short this journey can be. Let your grief make you more human, not less alive. Say yes to the lunch invitation. Say yes to planting a new tree. Say yes to travel, to art, to love again. Not because you're over it, but because they would want you to. Because your life is still unfolding, and there are still people here who need your light. You are allowed to live a beautiful life, even with a heart that still aches. Have you ever sat in a quiet room, a room where the sun filters in gently through a half-open curtain, and suddenly felt that strange ache? The kind that doesn't come from your body, but from somewhere deeper. A kind of whisper inside your chest. A silence that doesn't feel peaceful, but heavy. Still, it often arrives when someone you love isn't there anymore. Or maybe they are, but not the same. You notice it in the small things. The way their favorite chair remains empty, just a little too long. The cup of tea that used to be shared, now cooling alone on the kitchen counter. The conversations that once danced between you two, now falling flat, one-sided. You don't talk about it often, because how do you even start? What words are there for watching someone you love quietly drift further away from the world while still breathing beside you? I want to begin here, not with facts, not with statistics, but with this quiet truth that so many of us carry and so few of us say out loud. Growing old brings with it many gifts: wisdom, patience, a kind of love that doesn't need proving. But it also brings a certain kind of grief, not just of people we've lost, but of people we are losing, slowly, in front of our eyes. Maybe it's your father, who once lit up the dinner table with stories, now sitting in long silences, or your spouse, who used to wake with plans and purpose, now waking, confused, disoriented. Maybe it's your mother, whose strong hands once held your childhood together, now trembling, just trying to button her blouse. This kind of change sneaks in softly. It doesn't announce itself with sirens. It comes in forgotten names, half-eaten meals, a sudden stumble, or a long nap in the middle of the day. Again. And it's so easy, almost too easy to dismiss it. They're just tired. She's getting older. He always forgets small things. We say these things because we need to believe it's nothing. We say them because we're not ready to ask the bigger question. Is this the beginning of the end? It's a question that's almost too painful to voice. But if you're here, watching this video, reading these words, I believe you're someone who cares deeply. Someone who isn't afraid to face what's hard because you know that understanding is a form of love too. You're here because you've noticed things, subtle shifts, moments that don't sit right in your gut. And maybe, like so many others, you felt helpless. You've wondered, what can I do? How do I know if this is normal aging or something more? What if I miss the signs and regret it later? This video is for you. Over the next few minutes, we're going to walk gently together through 5 subtle, yet powerful signs that an elderly loved one may be entering their final year. These aren't meant to scare you. They're meant to prepare you not for death, but for presence, for connection, for peace, for making the most of the time you still have. Because time, as you and I both know, is not endless. And too often, people reach the end of their life surrounded by missed opportunities, unspoken words, and loved ones who didn't see what was coming until it was too late. But not you, not today. You've chosen to pay attention, and that is one of the greatest acts of love you can give. So I ask you now, gently, sincerely, if you've ever lost someone and wished you had known more, had seen more, comment 1 below. If you haven't faced this yet, but want to be ready when the time comes, comment 0. I read every word. I truly do. And if this message, this kind of conversation speaks to something in your soul, please subscribe and click the bell. Not because I want more numbers, but because I want us to stay connected. This channel isn't just about information. It's about healing. It's about being the quiet voice in the room when no one else is saying the hard things. In a moment, we'll begin with the first sign, one that often hides in plain sight, a change so subtle. Most families don't notice it until it's already too late. But before we dive in, let me say this one more time. You're not alone. Whatever you're feeling right now, fear, sadness, confusion, it's okay. You're walking through something most people are never taught how to handle. And yet, here you are, learning, listening, loving. That's brave, and that's beautiful. Now, let's begin together.